said his predecessors didn't fully investigate. The second and third 1023 forms relate to the first in that they reference potential Biden family criminal conduct. Senator Johnson and I made these two public, and we simply want to know whether the government has investigated what it found, and if not, why not? Senator Hirono.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Bondi, FISA Section 702 will expire in 6 months. In response to my questions for the record, at your confirmation hearing, you said you did not have experience with FISA, but if confirmed, you would consult with experts at DOJ. Now, you've had that opportunity. Do you support adding additional safeguards for searching Americans' communications in the 702 database?
Senator, Section 702 is a vital source of foreign intelligence and instrumental in keeping Americans safe. We also take individuals' rights of their individual rights of all Americans very seriously. And many statutory reforms to FISA have incorporate safeguards. They have to incorporate safeguards to protect our civil liberties. The Department of Justice looks forward to working with you to discuss anything regarding 702.
I appreciate
I believe
that.
my staff, and Senator, I also want to thank you for this hearing. Your staff met with my staff, and I greatly appreciate that.
Thank you. We're going to be working on 702, so I appreciate the openness to further amending 702. At your confirmation hearing, you assured me that it is the Department of Justice's decision to determine what cases will be prosecuted. Last month, the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia was forced out. President Trump then posted the message behind me asking about prosecuting James Comey. You then appointed a new U.S. attorney who within days secured an indictment against James Comey. That social media post behind me saying, "What about Comey?" was directed to Pam. Are you the Pam that the president was referring to?
I'm sure I was.
So it's very clear to me that when the president posts something like that, that he considers the DOJ to be his law firm and you his lawyer. And in fact, very shortly after the post to you, Comey gets indicted. Last year, President Trump's new border czar, Tom Homan, was videotaped taking a bag with $50,000 in cash from undercover FBI agents after suggesting he could help with government contracts. Sounds like a bribe. 2 weeks ago, DOJ officials reportedly shut down the bribery investigation into Mr. Homan. Ms. Bondi, did you approve closing the Homan investigation, bribery investigation?
Senator Hirono, as I stated earlier, the Department of Justice and the FBI conducted a thorough review, and they found no credible evidence of any wrongdoing. You were also on video outside the White House protesting with a group called CASA, where Antifa members were. Does that mean you're a member of Antifa?
You know, I simply asked the question as to whether or not you approve the shutting down of the investigation of Mr. Homan. I have to assume that you did because the FBI, it reports to you. But the American people would look at the situation where this person is taking a $50,000 in cash, no less, and you testified today that a thorough investigation was done. Now, I have to assume, I conclude that since no wrongdoing was determined, that in answer to Senator Whitehouse's question, he kept the money. He kept the money, and I hope that he put that on his tax returns as income. Next question. Over 1,200 rioters were convicted of charges related to January 6th. President Trump has since pardoned nearly all of them. As if that weren't enough, last month there were reports that a lawyer for the January 6th rioters met with senior DOJ officials about setting up a compensation fund like the one that Congress set up after 9/11 to compensate these rioters. Ms. Bondi, is anyone at DOJ considering setting up a compensation fund for January 6th rioters? Yes or no?
Senator, I have had no meetings or discussions about a fund.
So would you support such a fund? Would you okay such a fund?
Senator, you can send me the information on the fund, and I'd be happy to look at it.
No, but do you think that's a good idea to, this is what I'm getting at. Because to actually set up a fund and to have people talking with your senior people at DOJ, political people, about creating a fund, and you won't let us know what you think about that, That's pretty unbelievable. On January 30th of this year, the Trump DOJ's Antitrust Division sued to block the merger of two tech companies. Then, well-connected lobbyists met with your political deputies who overruled the career staff and approved the merger. So there's a settlement on that. And separately, DOJ sued Ticketmaster last year for monopolizing concert tickets and forcing consumers to pay outrageous fees. Ticketmaster has hired the exact same lobbyists who met with senior DOJ political people regarding the merger of the two tech companies. So my question is, Ms. Bondi, have lobbyists met with your political deputies about the Ticketmaster case?
Senator Hirono, as I stated earlier, I am not going to discuss anything that is ongoing. Gail Slater runs the antitrust
I would
office,
say
and Gail
that-
Slater, if I can finish, Gail Slater is doing an incredible job running my antitrust unit.
It's highly likely, Ms. Bondi, that the same lobbyists who met with your people and basically got rid of the antitrust case.
Senator, I don't think a lot of people
I
like
would
that
say
you were out
they're probably
protesting with
meeting you
Antifa.
right now. Next question. You have fired dozens of career prosecutors because they worked on cases involving President Trump or January 6 rioters. For example, one career federal prosecutor who secured over 100 convictions in Florida. He also spent time in D.C. prosecuting January 6 cases. He received an outstanding review only 2 days before you signed a memo firing him. The memo cited no reason for his firing. Are you firing career prosecutors solely because they worked on cases like January 6th that the president doesn't like?
Senator Hirono, I am not going
Yes
to
or
talk
no?
about personnel matters with you.
Well, we all know that hundreds of career prosecutors have left the DOJ, and literally hundreds were told. And,
Yeah,
you know,
Senator,
you've
are you
lost- the
familiar with the one
DOJ
that threw a
has
sandwich
lost-
at an ICE officer? Are you a Homeland Security
Here
officer?
is the
Are you familiar
reason.
with the one who went out on her lunch break and was
Ms. Bondi,
making obscene gestures?
Would you say that DOJ losing these career prosecutors and the thousands of hours of experience they have prosecuting criminals, that is not a reassuring situation?
Senator, many employees took the fork in the road and resigned. DOJ is hiring committed prosecutors who will actually come into the office and work and not work remotely and
think we all
prosecute
know
violent
that-
criminals around the country and terrorists. And
When
I'm
you-
very proud
when you
of the
fire-
work all of our prosecutors
I'm running out
are
of
doing.
time, so I think you should stop with your continuous interruptions, in my opinion. Mr. Chairman, I just want to close by saying that what was once the Department of Justice has become the Department of Revenge and Corruption. Rather than pursuing cases without fear or favor, this DOJ seeks to favor the president's friends and instill fear in his alleged enemies. If you're a friend of the president, this corrupt DOJ will bend over backwards to help you, just like it dropped the bribery investigation of Tom Homan, like it's considering paying money to January 6 rioters, and like it has put antitrust enforcement decisions in the hands of well-connected lobbyists. But if you're on the wrong side of this president, you will face the wrath of DOJ, no matter what the facts, law, or justice support. James Comey is indicted days after the president's social media directive. Experienced career prosecutors are fired just because they were assigned to work on January 6 cases. Blue states are sued to get highly sensitive private voter data, whereas red states are left alone. The double standard is clear, and the American people are waking up to the corruption and favoritism and the lawlessness at the DOJ. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
May I respond, Chairman?
Yes.
May I respond?
Yes, you may respond. Then Senator Kennedy.
Thank you. The double standard is crystal clear, Senator Hirono, crystal clear, because you didn't complain for 4 years when President Trump was being targeted by Jack Smith, by the last Justice Department. But the American people spoke loud and clear when they overwhelmingly elected him. The two-tier system of justice is over.
Senator Kennedy. Yes.
It began with a simple question and the gravity of 6 hard syllables. Do you support adding additional safeguards? Senator Mazie Hirono's voice was steady, legalistic, and precise as she pressed Acting Attorney General Pam Bondi on FISA Section 702, one of the most powerful surveillance tools in the government's arsenal. Bondi answered in the language of bureaucracy. Vital source, civil liberties, work with you. promises without edges. And then the hearing changed. The stakes rose, the temperature climbed, and the room learned what a clash looks like when oversight meets a brick wall. Hirono moved from abstractions to a timeline. A U.S. attorney forced out. A presidential post, what about Comey, aimed at Pam, a new U.S. attorney installed. An indictment of James Comey days later. The question cut with surgical clarity. Are you the Pam the president was referring to? Bondi said she was. In that acknowledgement, a truth flickered into focus. The distance between the president's command and the Department of Justice's decisions was no longer a guarded, principled space. It was a hallway, brightly lit, with doors held open. From there, the senator layered allegation upon allegation, not as rumor, but as structured inquiry. A videotaped $50,000 cash handoff to Trump's border czar. Sounds like a bribe, she said, and a reported shutdown of the investigation. Did you approve closing the investigation? Bondi pivoted to talking points about thorough review and no credible evidence, then tried to muddy the waters with a smear, accusing Hirono of protesting with Antifa. The deflection was the tell. When the facts grow inconvenient, change the subject. When oversight sharpens, sling labels. But the record shows the moment that matters most is not the insult. It's the silence where an answer should be. Hirono kept going because the pattern demanded it. Reports of a compensation fund for January 6th rioters compared to the September 11th victim compensation fund, a moral inversion so stark it stopped the room. Yes or no, she pressed. Bondi said she'd had no meetings. Would she support such a fund? Send me information. The dodge revealed the design. Never close the door on favoritism, never open the door to accountability. That's not neutrality, that's strategy. Then came antitrust, a tech merger initially challenged by career staff, reversed after a lobbyist's meeting with political deputies. A Ticketmaster case, and the exact same lobbyist in the waiting room. Have lobbyists met with your political deputies? Hirono asked. Bondi refused to discuss anything ongoing, praising a loyal deputy by name. It was a portrait of captured government, cases that affect consumers and competition running through the same revolving doors, supervised not by law, but by access. The gavel didn't have to drop to tell you what that means. It means the rules bend for those who can afford it. Personnel is policy, and the senator finally made it explicit. Dozens of career prosecutors fired, some with outstanding reviews, after working January 6th cases. No reason cited in the memos. Institutional memory, gone. Expertise, gone. Independence, gone. In their place, a different standard, loyalty to power instead of fidelity to law. Bondi would not discuss personnel matters. Of course she wouldn't. Silence is the first refuge of a politicized Justice Department. The second is retaliation. And then, in one unbroken closing passage, Hirono said the thing out loud, what everyone in the room could feel. What was once the Department of Justice has become the Department of Revenge and Corruption. She walked the audience through the two-tier track she believes is now official policy. Friends of the president get deals and dropped cases. Critics get indictments on cue. Blue states sued for voter data. Red states spared. The double standard is clear, she said, and the American people are waking up. Bondi asked to respond. She had her line ready. The two-tier system of justice is over now that the president has been overwhelmingly elected. It was not a legal argument. It was a loyalty oath, legitimacy by acclamation, vindication by vote count. It told us what this hearing was really about, not whether statutes are enforced, but whether power is consolidated, not whether the law is blind, but whether it can be taught to wink. The clash between Hirono and Bondi revealed more than temper. It revealed a constitutional hinge under strain. FISA reform is not a niche debate. It is the difference between targeted national security and boundless surveillance. Antitrust is not an academic exercise. It is the cost of your concert ticket and the fate of your marketplace. Prosecutorial independence is not a line on an org chart. It is the barrier between a free republic and a leader who points at enemies and says, "Make it so." When Bondi waved away specifics and tossed back accusations about protests and Antifa, she wasn't just dodging, she was modeling a doctrine. Accountability is for the other side. Democracy doesn't just need elections, it requires friction, subpoenas, depositions, oversight, and the courage to ask unpopular questions when the cameras are on. That's what you witnessed in this hearing. A senator tracing the thread from social media directive to indictment, from lobbyist meeting to enforcement retreat, from cash in a bag to a case closed, and an acting attorney general who would not put answers on the record when it mattered. So here is the lesson, distilled from the noise. Power hates sunlight. It loathes paper trails. It thrives in the space between a president's demand and a prosecutor's decision. And it survives only if we let fatigue replace vigilance. Tonight, the Judiciary Committee pulled back the curtain. You saw what was backstage, a government that can be steered by a post, softened by a lobbyist, and sharpened against its critics. That is not the rule of law. That is the rule of someone. This is the moral line. Justice cannot be a favor that you win or a threat that you survive. Justice must be the same for the powerful and the powerless, the friend and the foe. Anything less is not justice at all. If you believe in equal justice under law, if you believe oversight is not a nuisance but a duty, if you believe the truth should not have to shout to be heard, stand with us. Subscribe to Liberal Freedom. Share this hearing. Support our work to expose the machinery of power, because sunlight is still the best disinfectant and we intend to keep the lights on.